the Fill the Funnel podcast with Jeff Swan
and Tom Slocum.
We're here to help you crush your targets
with tactical tips and insights you can act on today.
Don't have a fancy tech stack, a big budget, or even a huge team to lean on?
Well, it's time to get that solved today with FTF Fridays.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Fill the Funnel podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Swan, and with me today to tell his secret for getting to 10 meetings and more a month is my good friend Marc Mac, coming in from Jersey. Marc, tell our listeners who you are, where you're from, and who you prospect.
Hey, how you doing, everybody? My name's Marc Mac, and I work for a company called Interactions, and we pretty much are a conversational AI virtual assistant technology that can help with first level customer support for like travel and hospitality. And I pretty much call on directors, VPs, senior VPs of customer experience, chief experience officers, directors or VPs of marketing, which that sometimes falls under. And then oftentimes when we get on those calls, as you can imagine, we have IT people on there also. So voice engineering director or marketing technology director, something like that. Usually
Gotcha. So it sounds to me like they're pretty decent deal sizes then.
Yeah. So what's interesting is it's they're looking for companies that are, $1 billion hotel companies, leisure companies. Like I'm calling on StubHub, I'm calling on Carnival Cruises, I'm calling on Marriott, Hilton, Cheapo Air, if you will, stuff like that. Anywhere where you would call in and try to make a reservation. What's really cool about it is it's a technology where you can pretty much just talk in your own vernacular. And the way you speak, it's not like, press 1 for this or press 2 for that. Pretty much the virtual assistant will answer the phone as, "Hi, how may I help you?" And you can pretty much say whatever you want. You can make mistakes if you if you don't talk in like really clear English, like a foreigner or what have you. It still understands you. If you've got noise in the background, it basically blocks out that noise and still understands you. So it really understands the customer intent, why they're calling, and will answer all your questions all the way through, no matter how you ask them. Even if you make a mistake in telling them any information, it'll actually pick up on that. And then if it has to route you to a human at that point, it could, and it works cross channel. So whether you're calling in or you're talking with the chat bot on their website, or any other platform that's used to communicate with that company, it takes that omni-channel approach and integrates it. So like if you're on a chat with, hotels.com, all the information that you shared with them, if it has to go to a human, you now don't have to repeat yourself. Like they're not going to ask you the same questions. It'll transcribe that whole conversation to the human agent, and it just really elevates the customer experience.
I was just going to say, it sounds like a great customer experience, and I'm really excited that technology has got to a point where we can do something like this. So I know I'm going to ask a goofy question here, but what problem would you say you solve for those executives that reach out?
Yeah. So, nobody likes to repeat themselves to an automation. I know as well, when I call in, and being from New York, I have very little patience for incompetence. So I'll probably hang up, and maybe if it's something that if there's no other service provider, obviously I'm probably going to call back. But in today's day and age, there's a million other providers of these kinds of, especially in travel and hospitality. So, it basically allows them to not lose customers, because on average, people who use an IVR, which is like where you have to press 1 for this, press 2 for that, or if you have to say 1 or say 2 and it doesn't understand you, it'll hang up on you. So essentially, we're saving revenue from slipping through the cracks. and we're creating a real elevated customer experience. Let me tell you, one of the recordings that I first heard when I came to this company, I swear to God, I was so blown away by it. I literally fell off my chair. I mean, it was a recording of a guy who, I guess it was an Indian fella, and he spoke Hindi. Yeah. And he actually, when he first called in, he wasn't even listening to somebody picking up the phone. He started talking to his wife in the background for literally like about 15 seconds. The virtual assistant kept saying, "Hello, are you there? Are you there?" And then it waited for him to actually start talking to it, which right then and there from minute one, I was like, wow. I'm like, because most IVRs, if you don't press 1 or 2 or do whatever in the first couple of seconds, it'll hang up on you.
Yeah.
So the problem we solve is that it's, saving from customers from slipping through the cracks.
No, that's amazing. And I can see why you book so many meetings, to be honest. And you told me before we started the conversation that you're at roughly about 11 meetings this month so far. Did I get that right?
Yeah. So it's more of an account-based model approach. We're looking at very high production companies. It's a consumption-based tool. So like a Hilton or a Marriott will only pay interactions for what we call successful transactions. And that means getting that customer all the way through to what they're looking to accomplish. If that customer hangs up, Marriott doesn't pay for that call. So it's a little bit different in the sense that it's not like in a subscription model where you pay per month. You're really paying per transaction. So we're looking at big companies, as I mentioned, Marriott, Hilton, Carnival Cruises, that kind of thing.
So in other words, like basically you don't want to take on people that you can't help, that you can't solve this problem for, because if you do, then your company's not going to make enough money, hands down.
Yeah. I mean, look, when I was first started, I booked a meeting with a what turned out to be kind of a small hotel company, like under 50 million in revenue, and had to cancel it actually because, in fact, when I canceled it, I sent the guy an email and I said, look, we did some homework on your company and we feel like the business case isn't really there and I don't want to waste your time. And He appreciated that, actually. I was a little scared at first to have to cancel the meeting. I'm like, what? I did, but but then he wrote me back, hey, I appreciate your honesty, Mark. And when I have a business case for this in the future, I'll reach out. So.
See, I like that, Mark. So I've known you for, I don't know, just over a year now. And one thing I've always liked about you is your honesty and your frankness. You're not afraid to pull punches. You're not afraid to be real, which is why I think you're really good at cold calling and you're good at your job. I want to go back to what we were talking about now, switch gears a little bit, is when you think of a time when you weren't at, Marc Mac today, booking the meetings that you're doing today. What did you do to kind of get over the hump, to get from that, like maybe 3 to 4 low value meetings a day to like what you're doing now, which is tracking $1 billion companies and like putting them in the pipe?
Research, really. Pre-call research is so important. SDRs, BDRs out there, if you're not, looking at LinkedIn and, various other sources, whether it be Zoom Info or Seamless or data sources and such, to really identify the right people. Yeah. You're just dialing just to hit a number. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your manager's time. You're wasting your company's time. You're wasting the client's time, whatever. It's really just not. And that's what I was doing, back in the day, when I was years ago, I was in high powered, high velocity phone sales in the late 90s and literally boiler room style. Yeah. I've got some funny stories I could tell you where my boss literally he wanted me to put him on hold, put the guy on hold. And I was so junior. I was like, I was scared. And he literally reached across the desk and actually put the guy on hold. The guy was talking and he put the guy on hold And all of a sudden, like, you know, he's like, all right, you're going to get back on the phone. You're going to say this. You're going to ask him this. Then you're going to say this. Then you're going to say that. Right. And then I'm like, okay. And then I picked up the phone. The guy was still talking. Like, he had no idea I put him on hold. So really, you know, you know, it's just that, you know, you got to do the research, you know, you got to understand your client a little bit better. You don't have to understand them everything. And I'm definitely not a believer in, if you think you know a lot about your client. I hear a lot of SDRs and BDRs when they're on the phone, and I spend a lot of time call coaching, you know, and I hear them say, I know you do this, and I know your company does that, and I know, you know, that you're probably not interested in this or whatever. And it's like, why say that? Right. Even though you might know that, let them tell you that. Right. Ask the questions that will reveal what you already know. Right. That's what a good lawyer does in the courtroom. I mean, back in the day, I wanted to be a lawyer. I went to school for political science. I was going to be a lawyer. I was in moot court, mock trial, all that kind of stuff, because I knew how to lead what is it called? A witness, you know, down the path we want them to go. And, you know, essentially that's what we do. It's not a trick. You're not trying to trick the customer. But if you do know what you think their pain points are and so on, let them tell you, because you may be surprised that it's not exactly that. And it's maybe something more personal to them, you know, that you can kind of hone in on. And then potentially, you know, set up a better meeting, that's actually going to go down. I think that was been my biggest change too, because I used to go and pitch a meeting right away, you know, oh, it's beyond my scope of knowledge. Why don't you just talk to my guy, right? But those meetings never showed. A lot of those meetings didn't show. It's because I didn't create enough excitement in that particular prospect to want to remember that he set that meeting with me. Because remember this, if you set a meeting and there's like 5 days in between time you talk to him and the meeting that goes down, they're going to forget what the meeting was about, especially if they're a person of authority, because they got 100 other meetings that happened before that. And then all of a sudden their colleague is pulling them and they look down, they go, wait a minute, I got a meeting at 11 o'clock with who's this? Interactions? Oh, I won't even show. Right. You know, which I think is rude, to be honest, but at least send me an email saying you can't show.
You know, it's interesting. It's like I heard yesterday from somebody that their no-show rate went down because of COVID, because everybody's in their home office by their computer, that kind of thing. But I've also heard from other people that I saw the exact opposite, is because their calendars are full of Zoom and they either get, you know, Zoom fatigue, or they just, you know, have priorities and they just don't think of meetings as valuable as they used to be when, you know, you'd meet somebody in a boardroom or in their office. Yeah. So there's an interesting kind of dynamic going on where things are kind of going in both directions. More no-shows, less no-shows, depending on the culture, depending on the buyer. And like you said, depending on how much excitement you build and how much you actually remind people leading up to it in a helpful and effective way.
Yeah, I think you taught me a little bit one meeting we had where you kind of build that story. Like if it happens to be 5 days out, build a story up until, when I say a story, I mean like you have a story you told in the beginning that got him to set the meeting. Now send him something 2 days later that continues that story. And then the day before or the day of, depending on what time the meeting is, send him the last piece of that story, or the second, third piece of that story, because the fourth piece is going to be the conversation that you have in the meeting, and get them excited about going to that meeting to find out wait, you left me hanging. Like, who doesn't love a cliffhanger? I mean, I hate cliffhangers in shows. I'm a big movie, TV show guy. And especially a TV show, because you got to wait a whole week before you can find out what happens. While I hate that, it gets you to like not want to miss that show the next week, though. So think of it that way, and your show rate's gonna go way up.
That's exactly it. So it's not only build the excitement, but nurture that excitement. right?
Yeah.
So there's a reason why, and this is all my sellers out there, don't get scared by a marketing word, but nurture is actually something that you want to do. Nurture is, you want to nurture the excitement. You're not putting it in a technology nurture. You're nurturing that excitement that you built in the first call. So just like Mark's saying, right? So use technology as your advantage, sell when you're not selling. You only get, I don't know if you know this, Mark, but there's statistics I got, I think it might've been HubSpot or something, maybe Gartner, but did you know that you only get 5% of your buyer's time in the buying process?
I mean, I'm really a practitioner. I don't look at analytics.
Yeah,
but okay.
I'm a little bit of A and a little bit of B, my friend. What if you think about it, when you're dealing with a buyer, what you're doing is you're making them think differently, making them kind of your how can I say this? You're framing the problems that they have around a solution that you have. So you want them to think differently about what's going on in their day to day. So when you think about that, they're going to go off and they're going to do their own research. They're going to research online. They're going to talk to colleagues. They're going to talk to people that they trust, right? Yep. They're going to talk to a buying committee inside their organization. Sure. And so all that time, then they're going to come back to you. And then if you're lucky, maybe they'll only come back to you and you might get 15 to 17% of their time. But more likely, they're going to grab another couple vendors and compare you against them. Right? Because it's so easy to find them. So effectively, for the 17 minutes that people typically spend with salespeople in general, vendors in general, you're typically only going to get a third of that. So 5.5%, 2/3% kind of thing. So when you think about it, what you just said is so key to making sure that meeting shows up, that you build that excitement, then you nurture that excitement, then you're going to have a much higher likelihood that those people are going to show up, they're going to be excited, and they're probably going to turn into an actual revenue opportunity.
Yeah. I imagine if they're doing all that homework and talking to those other people, the risk of you losing that meeting becomes greater and greater because, they're going to maybe realize, oh, we're already exploring that. Oh, we don't want, or maybe their boss says, I don't want you to focus on that. That's something for Q2 or whatever. And they don't call you. They just won't show. They're not going to want to say, oh, no, I don't want to meet you. They'd rather just avoid calling you. And then you'll get them on the phone 6 weeks later and they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm sorry. Things came up. My boss called me and he's just like, we couldn't really look at that right now. And I'm like, well, I almost want to say, well, why didn't you just call me and tell me that, dude?
100%, Mark. So frustrating. Okay, Mark, thank you so much for sharing this insight, man. It was a super pleasure to talk to you. If I'm going to recap your key advice, the things that got you from under 10 meetings a month to over, you were looking at make sure it's the right person. So do your pre-call research, all those things. Understand without telling them. So don't tell them, hey, I know you clicked a link on my webpage or blah, blah, blah. Ask questions to reveal it. Lead the witness, as you said, right? And then just stop going for the meeting just to get a meeting, just to get a number on the board. Make sure that you're getting a quality meeting and building excitement so that they remember why you booked in the first place, and nurture them along the way so that you can keep that excitement going in order to actually make sure that they get that no-show or they don't no-show. And thank you so much for joining. It's been a real pleasure, Mark. And to everybody out there, enjoy these tips and happy hunting. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Fill the Funnel podcast. If you like what you heard, be sure to hit subscribe on your favorite platform, give us reviews, and tell all your friends about us. Till next time, happy hunting.